Have you ever felt like your life was being controlled by some invisible force? I'm Evelyn. I thought everything was over when I exposed my enemy, but then a shocking secret began to unravel. Strange pieces, haunting whispers about original data led me to an unbelievable truth. Am I living in a play I don't even know about? All the troubles seemed to be over. I had exposed Grace's deceptive facade to the entire village and all the teachers. Now, I could calmly reflect on everything. That night, in my familiar room with the warm yellow light, I sat facing the moss-covered wall, where I had endured the heartbreaking pain of my previous life. Now, instead of despair, I felt a sharp coldness in my mind. I started to piece together the events. First were the mysterious messages from an unknown number. The first warning, when I saved my grandmother, "You should have been at the bakery today, shouldn't you?" Next was the chilling challenge, "Save your grandmother, but you can't change the outcome." Then a picture of me saving Jack with the cold words, "Well, you're fast." But the game has only just begun. Those messages were too precise. They revealed that Grace knew about my past, every tiny detail. She knew I worked at Aunt Amy's bakery on the day my grandmother fell. She knew Jack would get into trouble at the lake, and she knew I had tried to change those things. But how? How could Grace, a newcomer to the village, know my life so well? Especially events that had never happened in this life. Events that only I, the reborn one, knew. I closed my eyes, trying to recall Grace's every gesture, every word. Her panicked expression when I slapped myself, when she was caught with my hand cream. Her insane fury when her plan to frame Emily fell apart. And then, that final moment in the storage room when she whispered, her voice full of resentment and disbelief, "This isn't in the original data." Original data. The phrase echoed in my head again. It was the key. It explained all the abnormalities. Grace wasn't reborn like me. She hadn't experienced those pains, those losses. She simply knew the script in advance. But where did that script come from? I stood up and paced around the room. It felt like an invisible thread was tying me to something terrifying, a secret I needed to uncover. Grace wasn't just an ordinary enemy. She seemed to have an incredibly powerful source of information. I knew that to find the answer, I needed to approach Grace, but not in a direct confrontation. I needed to observe her when she was most off guard, when she was no longer acting. That night, a light drizzle fell, tiny drops clinging to the window panes. I had a plan. I wouldn't sit around and wait anymore. I needed answers, and I knew the only place to get them was Grace. She was at the center of every mystery. I waited until night fell completely, then secretly went to Grace's house to observe. I hid behind a large bush next to the window, patiently waiting, holding my breath and listening. A moment later, a deafening crash sounded from inside. This was followed by a furious scream, not Grace's usual gentle, angelic voice, but a howl filled with hatred and madness, tearing through the gloomy night. Why? Why isn't it according to the script? I froze, my blood seeming to stop flowing. That voice, it was completely unfamiliar, but it came from Grace. It was crude, cruel, and full of repressed anger, like a cornered beast. I tiptoed closer to the window, trying to peer inside through the slight gap in the half-closed curtain. The scene before me made me gasp, my heart feeling squeezed. Grace was smashing things frantically, without a trace of her usual elegance. A valuable porcelain vase shattered on the floor, ceramic shards flying everywhere. She ripped off the curtains, tore down the paintings on the walls, acting with destructive abandon. Her face no longer held angelic beauty, but was distorted with fury, her eyes, bloodshot, blazing with insane fires of failure. Every muscle in her face twitched, an expression of extreme anger. "This isn't in the original data. What kind of monster are you that you dare to ruin everything?" She roared, her voice full of indignation, as if talking to someone invisible, or to me, hiding in the shadows, hearing every word clearly. I trembled, trying to keep myself from making a sound, my heartbeat pounding painfully. Original data? This phrase appeared again. It had haunted me since the night I received the first message. It was the only thread linking all the irrational, unexplainable events together. Grace staggered to an old wooden chest in the corner of the room. She opened the lid, her hand trembling as she pulled something out. It was an old leather notebook, very familiar, a chilling familiarity as if I had seen it somewhere before, in a dream or some distant memory. I squinted, trying to peer through the blurry window pane and the darkness. The moment she opened the notebook, a strange pale green light flashed across my eyes, just for a split second, then disappeared. The space around her seemed to be slightly warped, distorted, then quickly returned to normal. Grace quickly flipped through the pages, her trembling finger pointing to a line of text, as if searching for an answer, seeking comfort in the chaos I had created. Here! This is clearly the day you were supposed to die. The day your grandmother was supposed to die. Jack was supposed to die. Everything should be exactly as it is in here, shouldn't it? She snarled, her eyes fixed on the notebook, her voice full of despair and madness, the anger of betrayal. I swallowed hard. My throat was dry. The notebook. What did it contain? I tried to see more clearly. Even from a distance, I could vaguely make out handwritten lines, scribbled drawings. And then, an image caught my eye, making my whole body freeze, my mind reel. It was a sketch. A sketch of my house, every tiny detail drawn very clearly, every crack in the wall, every flower my grandmother planted. Then another picture, a sketch of Jack falling into the lake. The angle, the posture, even the ripples on the water, all eerily accurate. And another page, a drawing of Grandma Rose, her face gaunt, lying in bed, her eyes closed, tired. My whole body trembled uncontrollably. A shiver ran down my spine, not from the cold of the night, but from the terrifying truth that was gradually unfolding. Those images. They weren't images anyone could just draw. They were terrifying memories, indelible scars from my previous life. Grace scoffed, a cold, self-satisfied laugh, but also containing the bitterness of the defeated. You think you're so smart? You think you can change fate? You're just a supporting character in this story, Evelyn. A weak, pathetic character, exploited, and then destroyed. She quickly flipped to another page, letting out a frustrated sigh. Ugh, what a hassle. Now I have to revise a bunch of things because of you. You were supposed to die in the forest, she mumbled, as if calculating the pros and cons of some project. Supporting character? Change fate? Revise? I felt a dizzy spell, stronger than any dizziness I had ever experienced. My mind was spinning, fragmented pieces began to fit together perfectly. A crazy thought, yet the only explanation for all these strange occurrences began to form in my mind, undeniable. She's not from this world. Grace slammed the notebook shut with a dry thud, her face full of annoyance, as if dealing with a difficult problem. I should have finished my mission and returned already. It's all messed up because of you. Mission? Return? These words were like the final pieces falling into place, creating a complete, distorted, and terrifying picture. I took a step back, my whole body trembling uncontrollably, my breath seemingly choked. I looked back at the notebook in Grace's hand. My house, the scene of Jack falling into the lake. Grandma Rose, sick. Everything from my previous life was drawn. Meticulously noted in that notebook. Not a single detail missed, like a diary of my life. And then, a horrifying truth dawned on me, like a lightning bolt striking my mind, tearing through the fog of doubt, revealing the abyss below. My life, Grandma Rose's life, Jack's life, and the entire village of Millstone, it wasn't a normal life. It was a book, a novel, a story written by someone. And Grace isn't from this world. She's a transmigrator, someone from another world who read that book. The book recorded all the events, from the beginning to my tragic end in my previous life. Everything she knew, the rumors about me killing Jack, about me being isolated, about my grandmother dying of illness and humiliation, about me being ambushed in the forest. All of it was a pre-written script in that book. Grace used what she read to manipulate everyone, to turn me into the villain, to complete her mission, perhaps to gain some benefit in her world, or simply to play her role in this story perfectly. She didn't know the future because she had special powers. She knew the future because she had read the entire book about my life, a tragic story that was already written, a story where I was the main character, suffering all the pain. And when I came back to life, when I changed the slightest detail in her script, saving my grandmother, saving Jack, exposing the violence, she went mad. Because I, a supporting character in her book, dared to rewrite my own destiny, dared to deviate from the path she had memorized, had known every detail of. I felt a chill run down my spine, but at the same time, a fierce fire of anger erupted within me, burning away all fear, resentment, utter indignation. All the pain, all the losses that my grandmother and I had to endure. Was it all just entertainment for a stranger? Was I just an ignorant character in a novel she had read? This truth was more horrifying than any slander Grace had ever created. It wasn't just injustice, but an insult to my very existence, to every breath, every tear I had shed. I clenched my fists, my nails digging deep into my flesh, blood oozing out, but I felt no pain. My eyes stung, not from fear or humiliation, but from anger, a pure anger. I used to be the weak child toyed with by fate, but now, I am the only one who knows this terrifying secret. Grace, she might know what the book says, but she doesn't know what will happen when the book is torn apart, when the lines of fate are erased, when the story takes a completely new direction that she cannot predict. I turned away from the window, walking into the night, every step carrying an iron will, an unshakable determination. The battle was no longer just about regaining my honor. This was a battle to reclaim my freedom, to reclaim my very existence, and that of those I loved. From this disgusting script, I will not let my life be a predetermined tragedy. I will tear every page of that book. Evelyn has unveiled a horrifying secret about the original data and realized her life is being manipulated. But will this truth be enough for her to defeat Grace? What will Grace do when her script is torn apart? And can Evelyn find the one behind it all? Join us for episode 6, as Evelyn not only confronts Grace, but also must find a way to fight against the mysterious force controlling her destiny.